So you students that are
Recording
planning on
in
showing up for Jane,
progress.
please bring lots of questions. I think she's hanging out with Snoop Dogg or Nancy Pelosi tonight. She's a tough guest to get. She does like real TV shows and stuff. I'm gonna throw it on over to Nancy Shuttleworth. Nancy.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So yeah, everybody can probably see my screen. So I just have 5 slides. That's it, and then we can have a discussion. You can ask questions. But I just wanted to do the 5 slides because just to give you some basics on what the Small Business Development Center is all about. Also, I don't know about you all, but I'm a visual person, so I like to see some visuals and to see what people do. And, I like to have it laid out sometimes and then I can listen. So I'm going to go with that format. So in Vermont, the Vermont Small Business Development Center, commonly referred to as SBDC. We have about a dozen advisors throughout the state. We are having our 30th year anniversary this year, which you see the little emblem up there in the corner. We are a federally funded organization under the SBA, or Small Business Umbrella. So that's just just a little bit about how it works here. I'm an advisor in the southwestern Vermont. So the core of what we do, really, the absolute core is we do business advising, and I'll talk more about that. It's no cost, confidential, no cost business advice. We do webinars and trainings. We did seminars and trainings pre-COVID. So we're working our way back to that slowly. Whatever we have going on at the moment is listed on our website. And the other aspect of what we bring to the table is all of the advisors have 20, 25 years plus experience in business, different industries. Many of us have owned our own businesses. So we are sort of, walking resources within ourselves. And if, I'd like to think that if we can't solve or help the person, guide the person, our client, then certainly we can find somebody who can within the vast network in Vermont. And there are a lot of resources for business people in Vermont. It's an enormous amount of resources. So moving on a little bit. So who do we work with? So we work with really everybody. Certainly people that are starting up businesses and companies, an existing business that's looking for growth strategies, that's looking for, expanding. And an expansion could be they want to hire 1 or 2 employees. How's that going to impact them? What's it going to do to their bottom line? There's a lot of costs with hiring an employee. Maybe they want to expand, they need more space. Maybe they need to move across town. What's that going to look like in terms of their, the cost? Maybe they want they have an opportunity to move next door and take the wall down. What's it going to cost to do all these things? And, can their existing business support it? Or what do they need to do so that they can support it? We do a lot of buy and sell businesses, with people buying and selling businesses. Certainly over the last 2 years with COVID and people coming into the state, a lot of people interested in buying businesses. And all different sizes of businesses. So we work with them. We also we do work with the college and student entrepreneurs. We have somebody who is out of our Middlebury area who works a lot with collegiate entrepreneurs at UVM. They have an entrepreneurship club. She does do a lot of work with that. So we work with everybody, right? A lot of people will ask me, what kinds of things do you do, for everybody? And, we do, I like to think, we do everything that's business oriented. If people are preparing for a business bank loan, something like that, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. Financials, business plan, which sounds like you're going to be getting into. How much money do you need to start the business? This is a big, big question, and it's a very, very important question, because there's a lot of things that you need to look at when you're going to start a business. Do you need equipment? Do you need inventory? You're going to lease a space, just like an apartment rental. They're going to want first month's, last month's security deposit. That could be $6,000-$10,000, right off the bat. You need utilities. Lots of people will prepay their utilities for 6 months or something like that. Maybe there's licenses or permits that you need. There could be fees associated with that. If you're going to buy a building, there's that one cost. But even if you're going to lease a space, renovations, figurative furniture and fixtures, they're all on you. The landlord is going to go, here it is. It's got 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. You pay for the rest. So that some of that can get pretty healthy. So pricey. So that is a big question. How do you price a product? There's another thing, or a service. How are you going to figure out what is the right price for your based on all the things that go into the pricing of product, right? Your cost of goods sold, your labor, everything that you're going to need to your raw materials. What's it going to cost? How much should I how much do I sell it on the market for? And actually services, when people get into they're going to market their services, another tricky area too. How much do you charge people? How are you going to charge the people? You're going to have a tiered strategy. How are you going to do it? So there's actually a lot of ways to go about that. Then you got to have operations. Who's going to manage what, right? So we see lots of times when people getting into businesses, I'm not really into bookkeeping, so I don't know how to do it. Like you're gonna have to a cost. You're gonna have to pay somebody to do that bookkeeping every month, and then every business is going to need it. Another area where we see business, and they'll say, well, I can handle the social media. I can handle it. So on the social media, that's one. This and really find your market and people different than maybe before. And then you still need to write, or should write it like for a year, 2 years. If you're going to a bank for finance, just so this is just a selection of all the things that we come across in our daily, weekly existence. So just moving on here, and it's my last slide. You'll note here on the, I've got my yellow area here pointing up to our website, because please check it out. There's a lot of resources there. We have Know Your Numbers, short videos, a few 3 or 4 of them. They're maybe 5 or 6 minutes long, and they go through different financial statements. We have something on there for a couple things on marketing, an online presence guide, which talks about what you need in terms of a website. The Google My Business or Google My Profile guide, which is a free listing, and all business should have it. You may decide that, wow, I'm not really ready for this full business plan thing. You could try the business model canvas, which I don't know, I'll have to ask George if he's talked about that. And that's a one pager, and it sort of puts your, it looks at your business for, from, who are your customers to your sort of operational infrastructure and your, a little bit of information on numbers, but the point is it's all on one page. And and you can spend 10 minutes on it or, 2 hours. So it's a real quick, real good way to get a quick glimpse of where you're at. Although you can make it very complicated too, if you want to. So on our website, we got templates for marketing plans, business plans, cash flow. There are 2 guides on our website. One is a step-by-step business plan. It's 14 pages. And I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can't see it because I've got a screen here. So, and we've got a buying and selling, which is another 12-page guide, which you can download. And on our events page, there is a Start Your Own Business webinar that we run, and it's live. There isn't on demand, but there is a live. We do live webinars on that, and it is a couple times a month, and you can see the schedule and you can register right there. So that's what I have for you on the slides. So I told you I was going to go right through these, and I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, real quick before you take down that slide, I see right in the middle, you got cash flow break-even analysis in terms of some of the materials that you have on your website. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Because my students from my class have their cash flow break-even analysis due to me on Saturday. So tonight or tomorrow, they may want to take a little trip over to your website. When I assigned it to them, I didn't check your website first. I should have. But let me talk just a little bit about that, because specifically that's very timely. That's coming up with them in 2 days. They'll be handing that in.
Yeah. So it's a very short little, it's just a small little Excel sheet. You can just plug in a couple of numbers, your total, and I'm not remembering exactly how they did it on that one because I used something else. But you can it's not complicated. It's just plug in a couple of numbers and your total costs and period of time, and it gives you a number. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. And again, I would encourage all of you, and again, I'm speaking specifically to the students in my entrepreneurship class, to bookmark Nancy's website and use it as a resource for all these things. Because looking at what she has up here on the screen and what I have assigned for you for homework this week, it's perfect, right? Perfect resource. And I don't always specifically remind them to point their way over in that direction. So, okay, are we ready for, I guess we're done with the PowerPoint. Are we ready for questions and answers? Oh, look at this, Nancy, in my mind. I'm just going to say to their screen so we can get back to regular. The reason why I asked for that is the way we do questions and answers. You guys can just take off your microphones and ask questions. I'm okay with that. And as long as it doesn't get clumsy and people stepping on each other, it should be okay. If it does, I'll play traffic cop. But your other option, of course, is the chat board. And if you can type into the chat screen your questions, and I will pass them on to Nancy that way, because I'll see them come up here on the chat screen. So anybody who wants to go, just either speak up or type up into the chat screen and we'll get you going.
How do I get more customers to come into the business?
That's a good question and an important question. Are you a retail? Or are you talking about something?
It's me and my husband is the owner, and it's a restaurant entertainment lounge, which means it has a snack bar, a admission fee, music, a DJ, different events. So basically, it's it's called Thompson's Lounge, and it's basically everything. It's a restaurant, a snack bar, BYOB, a snack bar, music, DJ, and different events like birthday parties, wedding events, and stuff like that.
Wow, where is that?
It is in Burlington.
Okay, how long has it been there?
Um, it's been there by June, but the person that gave us the spaces, it to me the rent is a fortune, um, which is $5,000 because who we rent it to. The person that gave us the space is, I don't know if you heard of them, is the Handies,
Oh.
but it's a fortune. But the only way we can get customers if we have those special events. But besides that, we sell food, the sodas, and stuff like that. And we have our permits and stuff. And we have signs, and it's foot traffic where it is, and just don't know how to get more customers.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I not knowing much about your business really, I mean, it's foot traffic, but I'm assuming, you're promoting it in some way. Do you have an email list? I would look and see if you had an email list. Are you on social media? What are you doing to, get the people that come in there to come back? And how are you finding, what would you do to find new customers? Do you have a budget for advertising? All of those things.
Okay.
Also, too, Rebecca. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nancy.
No, go ahead, George.
I was going to say, when we come finish up with the midterm, when we come around the other side of the midterm, our next topic is going to be marketing your entrepreneurial enterprise. So we're going to be talking about marketing very soon. Also, as you know, I teach 2 marketing classes. So if you want to get up with me on the side sometime, I can give you some tips on marketing your business as well from that point of view.
Okay, thanks.
Is that helpful?
Yep.
Okay. Let's get to some stuff that's coming in here on chat. The chat board's going crazy. Let me scroll up here a little bit. What are the differences between owning your own business and starting a nonprofit?
You mean starting your own business and starting a nonprofit?
Let me reread the question. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of similarities between starting your own business and starting a nonprofit. The difference many times is that people that are starting nonprofits are going to try to get grant money to start their nonprofit, right? So, and somebody that's just starting a business may be going to the bank to get a loan. But in terms of looking at financials, it's the same thing, just about. They call some things different things. So there's some of the statements they talk about a little differently, but I'm working with a nonprofit right now. We don't work with a lot of nonprofits at the SBDC. I am working with one right now, and we are doing projections for 3 years, and we go at it the same way. They have expenses and they need revenue to keep it going. The difference is their revenue is usually donations and grants and memberships and that kind of thing. They're not selling anything.
That's a very different world. I'm sorry. I was going to say this is a very different world from the private sector world. And I would imagine people who start not-for-profits come from that world, have a lot of experience or background in that world, come to the table with some familiarity with things like grant writing.
Exactly.
And things that are a mystery to me. I know nothing about grant writing. I know very little about
Yeah, I don't know anything about it either. And these people are experienced, and it's food related, and they're looking for a lot of grant money. So but you still need to know your numbers. Okay.
If you were going to suggest classes that are important, probably for both, if you're not getting a business degree, what are some key classes that either of you would suggest?
For
like the grant writing class, obviously that is something that could be helpful for a nonprofit, but yeah, just
Yeah, maybe I'll step in there, and then Nancy can add a little something when I'm finished. We have a grant writing class, as you know, and that's a terrific resource that we have. Outside of the business realm, as far as starting not-for-profit, I don't know. I mean, I'm coming from inside the business realm, so I'm going to tell you to take the entrepreneurship class and take small business management, which we also offer, which I do teach from time to time. That's a good one as well. Entrepreneurship, small business management, marketing.
Yeah, you
Those
need
are-
you need to have all of those things. And yeah, I mean, most of the colleges have grant writing classes. You know, I would also suggest that if you know of a, you know, medium, large size, you know, nonprofit in your area, to go in and talk to them about how they do what they do. And they may be able to give you some resources as well. It's always great. I mean, that's true even in, you know, a for-profit. It's always good to talk to people in that industry or near the industry that, you know, you might have some interest in.
thank you.
Also, too, on the list of CCV courses, we have a class called Spreadsheets, which is all about Excel spreadsheets. And I think that one would be handy for either a for-profit enterprise or for something on the not-for-profit side.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I see Nancy put up the website up there. Thank you, Nancy. Again, I have that linked, by the way, at the website. At the Canvas page. What businesses are on the list to buy? From Hasib.
So I don't have a list of businesses that are available for purchase, but you know, there are business brokers in Vermont that you could probably find that information. Some people, you know, sometimes small businesses will even end up on Craigslist, although, you know, you got to be careful there. But yeah, business brokers, realtors, commercial realtors in your area. Sometimes small businesses that where the people are getting ready to retire. In an area, you know, people will know, you know, they've been there a long time. And I've seen it where, you know, somebody will approach them and say, you know, I really be interested in owning your business. Would you be interested in selling it? You wouldn't believe it, but it does happen like that. So,
And let's not forget about franchises.
Yeah.
You can always contact the franchises. A lot of times there will be, and especially this is true in Vermont, there will be national franchises that don't have any franchisees in Vermont or this part of New England that may be thinking of expanding into this area. Someday, I may have told you the story of the Krispy Kreme, right? My ex-wife was from Alabama, and Krispy Kreme had been around in the South forever, and they were unheard of in the North. This was in the 90s, and I put in a bid for the Krispy Kreme franchise in New York City, which was on 23rd and 8th. Was the only Krispy Kreme in New York for like 5 years. People used to drive out-of-state plates and create traffic jams in front of that place. But again, if you can get something like that, where it's maybe a franchise that's maybe breaking into a new geography, and you can get in there. Again, I had to bid for the franchise. I didn't win the bid. There may be more than one person interested, but something like that, I think, has a lot of potential too. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know, for those of you who are familiar with Rutland, that the Panera on South Main Street, before they came in, quite a few years before they came in, I remember doing some research to find out, because I was thinking at the time, wow, wouldn't it be great to have something on that end of town like that? And because there wasn't anything. And but what I did, it was great because the research I found out was that, first of all, they required you to buy to have 3 franchises, not just one. So that quickly eliminated that, you know, for some people. But yeah, that was one of their criteria.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about this in the class. The world of franchises runs the gamut. You got the good, the bad, and the ugly out there for real. So be very, very careful if you are going to go with a franchise. All right, I have here, Nancy had mentioned there were a lot of resources available to Vermont businesses and was hoping she could speak more on what is available. How about that? Could you give us kind of a quick rundown on some of the resources that are available to small businesses in Vermont?
Well, let's see. CCV is one of the biggest resources. Okay, great resource. You have let's see, the ones come to my head: CWE, Center for Women in Enterprise, which is out of. They're in New England. They have they have an office in Burlington. They cover Vermont. If you've never been to their website, Center for Women in Enterprise, CWE. They have an enormous amount of free webinars, great stuff on everything, business plans, marketing, you name it. Vermont Department of Labor is a resource. You want to get information, about the employee situation, markets in the job market in the state, big resource. There is Vermont Technology Alliance in Burlington for people that are tech oriented. There's WBON, which is Women Business Owners Network. And you don't need to own a business. You could be just looking at businesses, thinking about businesses. You could be a student. It doesn't matter. There's the Young Professionals, Rutland Young Professional Organization, of which you all look to be the right age, and the Bennington Shires Young Professionals. They're a huge resource. They do a lot of great things. They do a lot of social things, but they're also all involved in professions. There's not every, but there's a lot of, in Vermont, we're lucky to have a lot of good chamber of commerce. In Rutland, we have CEDAR, which is the Chamber and Economic Development of Rutland Region. So it's combination chamber and economic development. There are 12, I believe, economic development centers in Vermont. And those are sources of information, can be resources as well. I mean, all of those economic development centers usually know the space that's available in an area. So if you were looking for, that kind of retail or, commercial space, that would be a good resource. Let's see what else.
Let's not forget your organization and the SBA.
Yeah, of course. My organization, Small Business Development. There is the SBA, Small Business Administration. They have an office in Montpelier. And by the way, if you've never been on there and the national SBA website, check it out, sba.org. They have all sorts of resources from business plans, financial information. There's also one they recently, SBA oriented, they recently put up, it's called Ascent, ASCENT. That's another one they have. So yeah, I'm just thinking there's just...
That really is a very deep website. And again, if you're in my class,
Yeah.
we're going to be getting into the SBA website and all the wonderful things that it offers. But again, don't wait till we get to that week of the program to check it out. Is it sba.org or sba.gov?
Oh, maybe it's .gov. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's .gov. You said .org, but I mean, it could
Did
be
I say
either one.
.org?
It
Yeah.
could be either one. Just check it out. You'll find it. And again, I'll put links up this week in the class. All right. We have retail cannabis business. I say cannibal. How in depth are the resources VT SBDC have for this? Cannabis, not cannibal business.
Okay, so here's the situation on cannabis. I cannot talk to you about cannabis because we are under the umbrella of the SBA. We're government funded, and cannabis is not legal on the federal level. So that's off the table for me.
Yeah, I should have thought of that. Nancy's organization has Vermont in it, but it comes under the umbrella of the SBA, and the SBA is
Right.
the federal government. So I would imagine anything cannabis is probably going to be verboten.
Yeah, it is. So, and at this point in time, forget loans, SBA loans, no SBA loans for anything cannabis. So there's a couple of organizations now in Vermont, and there are some people that we refer people out to who are interested in that. And I can't remember who they are or what they are, but I can send you that if you'd like, George.
Yeah,
And,
please do. And also, too, save that question for next week's guest, Jane West. She's not forbidden to talk about cannabis. In fact, that's mostly what she talks about, and she would probably have some good resources available. She, by the way, in terms of expanding cannabis business, and you can put your fingers in your ears for a couple seconds if you want. They're very gung-ho about Vermont. She's out in Colorado. And Vermont they have as their next expansion market for cannabis. So there are a lot of opportunities in this state that are coming up with that. But we save that for next week's guest. That's
so
Jane.
who is
Jane's
she?
world. She's a cannabis entrepreneur, very famous in that world.
Oh, okay.
She has a line of products. She has CBD coffee. You should check out her CBD coffee. It's really good.
Okay, what's her name?
All right, Jane West.
Jane West. Okay.
Yep. What are your thoughts? Oh, and by the way, just here's a question from me, just quick before I get on to the next one. You mentioned an SBA loan. Just to clarify for some of the students so that they know, what are some of the advantages when you get just going to a bank and get a bank loan versus getting one through the SBA or an SBA loan? Talk to them about the different terms and conditions that they're going to get and that kind of thing.
Well, it's to the bank's benefit. An SBA loan is guaranteed, right. So it decreases the bank's risk. So, and there are really a lot of different SBA loans based on the amount of money somebody is looking for. But basically, to get an SBA loan, you have to go to an SBA lender bank. SBA doesn't lend any money. So you would get, and practically all of the banks around are SBA lender banks, with the exception of a few. So you would go to that bank, and it's in your favor and it's in their favor to get to at least have a portion of that loan with the SBA involved, so because it is guaranteed. So if something happens, the bank is not on the hook for the loan.
Yeah, the SBA ameliorates the bank's risk, and that makes the bank a whole lot more willing to work with you. But don't they also can get you some lower rates and longer terms and other conditions as opposed to? Or it just depends.
So it just depends. It depends on what. Always depends on what you're looking for, how much you need, what I mean, when you're going to a bank for a loan, it's are you credit? Do you have good credit? Can you collateralize what you're looking for? Do you have experience in the industry you're looking to get a loan in? If you want to get money for a restaurant and you've never owned a restaurant, that's a tough one. So if you have a background in a particular business and you're just moving over to buy a new business or get out of where you are to buy a business, that's a good thing to have experience in that chosen field that you're going into.
Restaurants are always tough for bank loans.
That's a tough one anyway. That's a bad example, right?
The statistics in that industry are so bad.
That's a bad example.
Hard to get a loan for a restaurant in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, you probably know this. It's the 5 C's. But although the other day I was looking at is something that was talking about the 8 C's. The 5 C's, being what is it? Credit, collateral, character,
capacity.
Capacity. I can see. I can never.
Now we got 8 straight.
I can never remember them. No. There's 8. I know. Now there's 8. Credit, capacity, capital, collateral, character, that's you, conditions, trends, the economy, commitment, whether they think you're, committed to this, and cash flow, 8. How about that? So, yeah.
They've added 3.
They've added 3. I can't even remember
the 5 in my day. All right, let's take a look at our next question. What are your thoughts of pop-up business?
Pop-up business?
Yep.
Yeah, I love pop-up businesses. I mean, that's great. They can work out really well. Depending on what they are and what you're doing, I think it's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love the idea.
I have someone who wishes we had a Krispy Kreme here. I could kind of go along with you on that.
I don't think there's any in Vermont, are there?
No, there are none in Vermont. No, but
Okay.
again, talk to them and see if they're interested in a franchise. It's an interesting group. They're from North Carolina. I'll reserve comment. Next question from Amy. If you are looking to buy a niche business, what should you look at to determine a value or purchase price? That's a good question.
Niche. Well, whether it's a niche business or mainstream or whatever, there's a lot of things you have to look at when you're buying a business. Start out with, is this a good idea? Is there a market for this business? Where is the market going? What is the industry trends? Is this a growing industry, or is it, even if it's small, or is this sort of flat, or is it a dying industry? So I think when you're buying a business, you do have to do a lot of research to determine, is this going to be a good idea? Is it a good idea for me to buy this business? Like, it might be a good idea for you, but it might not be a good idea for me. And when I say that, what are you bringing to the business that's going to make it a success? We all have, different skill sets. So, did I answer your question? Or did you ask me about how to figure out what it's worth? Is that was the question?
Yep.
Okay, so when we're helping people buy a business,
It has to do with valuation or purchase price of the
yeah,
business.
we would have to do some sort of valuation. We are not certified business evaluators, but we have access to a lot of research, so we can look at your industry. We can look at benchmark numbers, and there are there's many different kinds of valuation methods out there. There's a lot, but we look at where the business, where it is, what the potential is for it, what the asking price is for it, and then you can get in a range based on different valuation methods of this is where the range is, the high and the low. So that's what we would do when we were working with somebody who is buying a business. But there are businesses where people say, I want to buy this business. It's $300,000. Okay, well, fine. And they don't, and that's it. They feel that it's worth $300,000. So, it's, different businesses are worth different amounts of money to people too. Like some people may be willing to pay more for it than others. But here's the other thing, if you're going to buy a business and you need a bank loan, we have to keep it in a range because the sky is not the limit there. So they're going to look at certain factors on that business to determine how much they're going to lend you.
And not the least of which may be the record of the previous owner. I always say, you're talking about buying something, buying anything, buying a car, buying anything else. My always question is, if this car is so wonderful, why are you selling it? If this business is such a license to print money and it does so well, then why are you looking to get out? Why are you looking to sell it? Again, there's often legitimate reasons for that. It may be personal, it may be whatever. But it's always something to think about. Every time you buy something, there's someone else who's selling it. Someone else who thought it was a good idea to get out now, just where you're getting in. So
right. So if somebody is selling a business and you are interested in buying the business, you will want to see their business tax documents. And because you need to see what the business has been doing. Okay, so you need not their personal tax documents. You need their business tax documents.
That's
And
right one.
anybody that's serious about selling their business will be happy to give those to you. You know, maybe you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You know, I mean, we look at this kind of information all the time. As I said earlier, everything we do is confidential. So that's where you would start. You would say, okay, I'm interested in your business now. I need to look at, you know, your last 3 years of tax and it'd be great. And by the way, you know, if you could give me a balance sheet, that would be good too. So that's where you would start. And because otherwise, how are you going to know, right?
Well, what inspired me to ask you about that, I was thinking of restaurants specifically, where you ever see every town has got, where there's this one location where every 6 months there's a new restaurant that comes up in that same location, and then it goes out of business, and then again the same. It's just a lousy restaurant location, and I keep saying to myself, people keep buying another restaurant there and putting another restaurant there and watching it run through its course and fail. You're shaking your head like you've seen this story, you've heard this before.
Yeah, restaurants are always an interesting, you know, they're an interesting animal for sure. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's always been true, what you said, George. Maybe you know, since the pandemic and restaurants have suffered so much, struggled, it may be that that'll change going forward. I don't know.
Well, let's hope so. But I was thinking more of in a pre-COVID world, right, where you go and you see that, gee, that's the 8th restaurant in that location in the past 9 years. You know, don't they say in the restaurant business that it's about location? Anybody figure out that maybe that's just a bad location for a restaurant? And
I know. It is sort of it is sort of interesting.
Okay, well, it looks like we kind of run out of questions. I have to deal with the Vermont around me. I have to deal with MEC.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, lay it on me. We'll take any live questions
we were just talking about you know, buying a business. And I was wondering if there was any sort of difference in lending and buying a business or starting a business, if they had similar projections for, you know, the next 3 years. Are banks going to be more likely to lend for purchasing a business or for starting a business? Or is there no difference?
Well, you know, starting a business always has a certain amount of risks, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no historical information. So, whereas if you're buying a business, you know, you can look at those tax documents and, you know, profit and loss statements and say, okay, this is what the business has been doing over the last couple of years. But it sort of all depends, because I've seen people definitely start businesses and get small loans for those businesses because they had they had some sort of collateral, you know, for in the business, be it their equipment, their inventory, and they had a really good plan, and they had the market for their product was strong.
Yeah, I just ask. I have an opportunity to either kind of buy a operating ski school, or the next maybe 5 years start a bike and ski business of my own. So just kind of weighing, you know, the options for the next couple of years, what I would like to do, what would be most profitable.
One thing too, when you're talking about the trade-off between buying an existing business versus starting one from scratch, from base, and you're talking about how people are going to react in terms of loans and credit and things of that nature. Remember, when you're buying an existing business, you're also buying their customers. They have an established clientele already in that location. And again, I don't work in banking, but I would think if I was on the money lending side, that might make me feel a little more comfortable, a little more risk averse. But obviously, I know what Nancy's going to say. Every situation is individual, and for every rule I throw out, there's 100 exceptions to it. So, you know, don't.
Well, right. And so some businesses, they have an aging market, and the people are sort of like aging, you know, their customer base is aging out.
Yeah.
So they really need to build that younger base. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you were going to buy an existing business or start something, so the only way to look at that would be to, really do an analysis of it and say, where might I be in a couple of years after I do
Yeah,
this?
if your clients are all seniors too, they don't have much of a future. You need to generate some interest with a younger set. Again,
Yeah,
you see that.
and you should always be looking for new customers. I mean, I'm
Right.
sure that George, you've talked about how it's cheaper to, um, it's always cheaper to sell to your existing clients than to go out and get that new client. Getting a new client acquisition is always a costly proposition. So you should sell to your existing client base. And guess what? Even if your existing client base is getting older and aging out, they have families. So, and their families have kids and there's grandkids. So, there's always those marketing channels too.
Well, what Nancy said especially applies if it's a business to business kind of a thing. That first sale, it takes a lot of time and effort, but then that repeat business just kind of comes. When we were talking about clientele getting older, their tastes getting older, I have to apologize because I have an assignment. My marketing classes this week, I just had them revamp KFC's menu. I don't know if you're familiar with KFC's menu, but it has creamed corn on it and mashed potatoes and a lot of old grandpa stuff. And they're seeing that, in their sales plummeting, and the younger demographic stays away from KFC. So I had my marketing students redo their menu to try to attract some younger clientele into Kentucky Fried Chicken this week. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially since fried chicken is a popular thing still.
Yep. Well,
just,
and the students came up with some wonderful stuff, meatless options, and some interesting side dishes, and all kinds of cool stuff. Again, a lot better than the cream corn and coleslaw. They even tried to pass off coleslaw as a salad, which is ridiculous. Anyway, here we go. I've worked with BTS, and they are amazing people all around. There you go, Nancy.
Okay.
I specifically point out the Startup Workshop and their mentorship program. Both have been vital in my experience with business plans and startups. Since it looks like we're kind of winding down a little bit, can you talk to us just a little bit about the Startup Workshop and mentorship program, and then maybe we'll wind it down from there.
Okay, so the startup, I think what they're talking about is the Start Your Own Business. Well, it's a webinar now. Pre-COVID, it was actually, we would do a seminar. It was like 2 hours long, and we did them at different places all over the state. And we covered, we just covered at a high level lots of different things. The mechanics of starting a business. How do you, how do you develop an idea? And what is a good idea for starting a business? We talk about, some of, all the business entities. Do you become LLC, an S corp, and how are you going to figure that out? And then where do you register your business? That kind of thing. Permits, licenses that some people might need. How do you figure out if there's a market for your service in your business? And then, they talk about, how a list of required funds, things you need to come up with when you're starting a business. Actually, at the end of the webinar they have now, they give a list of things. It's got to be 10 or 12 things. They tell people they should have completed before they even call us up. So it's a pretty lengthy list. So in that startup, they talk about business plans. They briefly talk about that business model canvas, that one pager that I talked about. And then in terms of when they're talking about the mentorship program, okay, I think so if you come to SBDC with help on any of these issues, we have you become an SBDC client, which means that all you need to do is you sign we have a confidentiality agreement and a SBA form. And those are the two documents you sign, and then you become a SBDC client. And we meet with people as needed. You know, if somebody's buying a business, there's usually a certain you know, path they go down, and we work with them. And then after they buy the business, you know, maybe we may work with them less, or check in with them maybe once every 2 months, and we're into a different phase. So all of it is, you know, you can call it advising, you can call it mentoring. You know, it's never a smooth process. People run into lots of different you know, issues and problems along the way. You know, people, you know, they get their loan, they think they had a lease all set, and then the landlord says, "I've changed my mind. I'm not going to let you lease this," and then they're off looking for another place. And I mean, you know, when people come to us and we start working with them again as advising, mentoring, whatever you want to call it, it goes in all kinds of different directions. So we hang in there as long as you want to hang in there, and as long as you need us. You know, we can't do the work for you, but we can provide the resources and the guidance, and you know, sometimes just the inspiration to keep you going, because it can be an arduous process sometimes. I won't lie to you about that. So did I answer your question? And then it says, can you take the webinar again if you have taken it? Oh yeah, sure. So you can take the webinar as many times as you want. It's free. Crowdfunding. I love crowdfunding. I think it's great. And I went to a conference last fall, and somebody spoke about crowdfunding, and I learned so much. There's so many different kinds of crowdfunding. It's not all the same. And so I love it. I think it's great. And I'd like to see more of our clients use it. And there's a preparation for crowdfunding too. You have to really prepare what you're going to do to put out there, because it's very marketing related, how you go about that crowdfunding. So I think it's very marketing related. So because you're putting yourself out there, and first impressions do count. So I love it. I think it's great, and it is definitely a solution for some businesses.
Cannabis business folks in particular may want to look at crowdfunding as well. Then you'll get around the whole federal and banking restrictions. All right, then I guess that's pretty much going to wrap it up, unless somebody has something else they want to throw in. Yeah, Rebecca, I see you. Go ahead. Take off your microphone. I appreciate your help.
Mic's on.
Yep. Rebecca, you got your mic off? Mic on?
Oh, here it is.
There you go.
I had to go through a lot of loopholes to get my business. I had to go through City Hall. I had to go through the state. I had to go through different grants to get my business, because without those grants, I would have never because it's very expensive in Burlington. So I had to go through City Hall, I had to go through Public Works, and I had to go through different grants to get my business. So from June to December, it was pretty slow, but now since it's 2022, my business has actually got more customers.
All right, good.
Yeah, and let me just say, there certainly over the last 2 years with COVID, there have been loans, forgivable loans and regular loans through our government that have never been available before. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've all heard of the PPP and the EIDL. Maybe you did. They're not, PPP's not available anymore. But and then there was grant money that came into the state. This was for existing businesses. This was not for startup. Right. Existing businesses that came in through the different CARES Act. All things again related to the pandemic. So there was a lot of grant money roaming
Mhm.
around. And the other thing too is a lot of the larger-ish cities, not just, big cities, but not that we have many big cities, but I'm thinking Rutland, Bennington, Brandon, they all have the towns have what they call revolving loan funds. And you can, if you're, they don't generally, startup businesses, maybe not, but existing businesses, especially if you need some money for equipment, inventory, not necessarily operating capital, but for those other things, those are revolving loan funds. They are like regular loans, but that's another source there. And then there's some other little agencies around. Every once in a while, people might have they'll have small grants, $5,000. That people can apply for, but I mean that's a very small, it's a small amount, but if you're a little small business and you need a new sign, that's a great thing because signs are expensive. So there's a lot of things out there, and we try to keep track of most of it,
Right.
and share that info with our clients, as it is relevant to them.
Oh,
But
cool.
you mentioned Brandon, and I know a lot of what we got along that line had to do with the fact that we got wiped out by some bad weather a few years back, and then so again,
Yes.
whenever something like that happens, there will be funds made available for rebuilding. Again, I think most of that would be for existing business, I would imagine, as opposed to new startup.
Yeah, not
You
startup.
you never know what's out there though with these things. Sometimes you're surprised. So always check out what's available and use
Right.
everything, all the resources that are out there.
Right. And I mean, most of the grant money, of course, are going to come through government agencies. So, keeping track of some of the government websites is always a good thing. But, it's amazing to see the kind of money that does come through, especially like the USDA. A lot of it's related to food right now. It's food and agriculture, dairy, vegetables, that kind of thing. But and energy related. So yeah.
All right. Well, then again, unless anybody has any parting questions or comments they want to hit with before we go, then I guess that's gonna.
Thank you all. It was great talking with you all tonight.
No, thank you, Nancy. You are a terrific guest. You were very knowledgeable. I appreciate it. I thank you for your time for coming by tonight. And
thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. And I know the students got a lot out of it. Again, for my
Yeah.
students, remember, you got your break-even analysis due on Saturday, and your midterm case we're going to do next week. So we got a little busy period coming up.
Okay, and so go to the website and check out the cash flow.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, go to the website and check out Nancy's cash flow.
It's simplified. The simplified. You may. It's probably different than what you're giving them, George, with more back end information.
No, I keep it pretty simple.
Okay.
But again, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you very much. Again, I'll look forward to seeing your break evens this week, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next week when we have Jane West back here for part 2 of our series with her. Thank you again, Nancy. I appreciate it.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
All right, I just stopped the recording, and okay, everybody's gone.
Almost.
Thank you. Good night.
So how's it going? Great. Okay, I didn't get to talk to him, but well, I guess it's time to start the game. The game. Not game.
please.